This is gonna be our last thing today. I thought this was an interesting. This was an interesting opinion piece, and it's a little older. It's from March, but we talk about centrists on this show. Which, by the way, again, if you're a centrist in the United States, you would be a conservative pretty much anywhere else in the industrialized world. You'd be considered a conservative or even a far right conservative anywhere else in the industrialized world. In the United States, you're considered a moderate. Anywhere else, you'd be considered right wing. But anyway, here is a moderate with a slightly different perspective than the usual. Okay. I thought this was an interesting article. A new role for Democratic centrists: help the left win. Democratic centrists, or you can call them New Democrats or moderate or pragmatic progressives or whatever label you choose. I like conservatives in denial. Anyway, have had quite an impressive run in national politics. They have won seven, this is according to the article, they have won 7 consecutive Democratic presidential nominations, or perhaps 8, depending on how you classify Michael Dukakis, and then went on to win the popular vote in 6 of those general elections. This stretch of relative success came after Republicans had won 5 of 6 presidential elections between 1968 and 1988. So, I'm not sure I'm in total agreement with the first paragraph here. The Republicans won for a while, then the tide shifted, and centrists were the only option on the ballot other than a Republican. If you want to call that a huge success, okay. I think it's more of a reflection of who really has our politics captured and who really has a shot at getting on that ballot. And if you ain't donor friendly, you ain't getting on that ballot. That's what we're trying to change. So, but anyway, I want to get to some of the other perspectives they echo here. But after 2016, it became clear that the center-left project, exemplified by the Clintons, calling it center-left, it's extremely generous, had reached a point of diminishing returns. Yes, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama held back what at some point seemed to be an irresistible conservative tide led by an increasingly irresponsible and extremist Republican Party, but their positive accomplishments were limited and were eroded by their Republican successors. And that had serious consequences, because what happened is a lot of general people, they think that under Obama they had 8 years of progressive borderline socialist policies. A lot of people think that. They didn't. They had 8 years of moderate Republican policies. Barack Obama said that himself. He said, I am a moderate Republican. Barack Obama said that. But people think like, oh, well, I guess progressive policies suck. My life got worse. I'm still not making enough money to live. I'm still working 2 and 3 jobs to survive. I can't send my kids to college. I don't have health care. I guess this isn't the answer. I'm going to see what this snake oil salesman named Donald Trump is selling. He was selling snake oil. And that's, what we got to beat now. We got to make people realize, no, you didn't have progressive socialist policies under Barack Obama. You just didn't. Even he says that. All right, so let's see what else it's saying here. And then there was 2016 itself, when the political premise of democratic centrism evaporated in Hillary Clinton's shocking loss to Donald Trump. All the compromises and temporizing of the Clinton and Obama eras, which deeply dissatisfied more left-bent Democrats, were supposed to seize the center and make short work of a bizarre extremist like Trump. Instead, Trump was able, we all know what happened in the 2016 election. Trump was able to redeploy leftist criticisms of Obama and both Clintons and win Rust Belt states. I say all this unhappily, the article says, the writer of the article says, as a charter New Democrat who fell in love with Bill Clinton in the mid-1980s and with Barack Obama almost instantly. I wonder if there's any policies they can point to. I feel like they just mean personality. They like Bill Clinton's personality. They like Barack Obama's personality. And this is what we're trying to get away from. But anyway, so here's what's interesting here. Does that mean centrists have no role in a recalibrated Democratic Party? According to this article, not at all. As former Clinton administration economist Brad DeLong explained in an interview with Vox, they have a new and vital, if subordinate, role. And it's really all that's left to them in the Trump era. Until something non-rubble-ish is built in the Republican center, what might be good incremental policies and just cannot be successfully implemented in America as we know it today, we need Medicare for all, funded by a carbon tax with a whole bunch of UBI rebates for the poor and public investment in green technologies. That's the best policy given the political economic context. And if the political economic context were different, well, I'm fundamentally a neoliberal shill. It is very nice to use market means to social democratic ends when they are more effective, and they often are. Instead of acting as a bridge to a non-existing center-right, those on the center-left can more usefully help their progressive allies tailor their policies to avoid substantive and policy pitfalls. These allies have earned the right to primacy, says DeLong. The world appears to be more like lefties thought it was than what I thought it was for the last 10 or 15 years. Well, I would like to be part of a political coalition able to call for bids from the left and right about who wants to be part of the governing coalition to actually get things done. That's simply not possible as of now. We shouldn't pretend that it is or that it's going to be. We need to find ways to improve left-wing initiatives rather than demand that they start from our basic position and do minor tweaks to make them more acceptable. We shouldn't pretend that it is or that it's going to be. We need to find ways to improve left-wing initiatives rather than demand that they start from our basic position and do minor tweaks to make them more acceptable to their underlying position. In other words, there's nothing pragmatic about an incremental solution to a catastrophic problem. Now is not the time for, quote, pragmatism. Now is not the time for, quote, centrism. And some centrists are starting to realize that. So they're giving this ultimatum. They're saying, now they are still being very soft and diplomatic about, what centrism, what, quote, centrism can actually do in this case. And they're saying we can help the left. By helping the left, that means supporting the candidates. Supporting the candidates, supporting the policies. And thumbing your nose at the will of the donors. That's what that really means. And getting money out of politics. So if you identify as a centrist, now, of course, with our current money party, that's a very difficult feat. They'll just all go over to the Republicans, and then it'll be, this huge, huge money machine, even more so than it already is, where they have, both parties. But here's the thing. If you're a centrist, based on this article, the ultimatum they're giving, where it's like, well, we either help our progressive allies or we just, there's nowhere else for us to go because there is no center, quote unquote. So if you identify as a centrist, you can either help out the progressives and really help out the progressives, or you might as well just become a Republican. Really. If you don't want progressive policies, well, what do you want then? I want an incremental step. Well, that's not going to work now. That's not going to work right now because we're facing catastrophic times. And some baby step incremental solution isn't going to work. Not only that, but it ain't winning votes either. They're acknowledging that 2016, and the reason I pointed out this article and I thought it was interesting, these are centrists that acknowledged 2016, that was the end. If every centrist had that realization, and by centrist, I guess I'm just basically saying the Democratic establishment, we'd be having a different conversation right now. And I think some of them genuinely had that realization. Some of them are just denying it because of the donors. Some of them don't really care because whether they lose or not, the gravy train keeps it rolling. But here you actually have centrists that are giving a message to other centrists that says, look, we either go the progressive route or there's nowhere else to go. Now, this article doesn't say you might as well become a Republican. I'm saying it. You might as well just go join the Republicans. Because honestly, if you are more politically aligned with, center-right to right-wing policies, why not join the Republicans and try to make it a more reasonable conservative party? Just go join the Republicans. So then maybe they'll be slightly less extreme. Joe Biden, the biggest favor Joe Biden could do would be if he tried to primary Donald Trump. That would be the best thing Joe Biden could do for this country if he ran as a Republican to primary Donald Trump. Politically, Joe Biden is a Republican. I mean, I know there's a D next to his name, but politically, he's cool with NAFTA, cool with Wall Street deregulation, wants to build a fence around Mexico, called for a fence. You can find that video that just got leaked a little while ago. He called for a fence. Against single-payer healthcare, against living wages. Was against Roe v. Wade. He's changing his tune now a little bit. Was against gay rights. He changed his tune when public opinion made him. So, and yeah, if you find yourself loving Bill Clinton, loving the policies, then yeah, either time to go along with progressives or just join the Republicans. Join the Republicans and try to make it a less severe party. So I think this article is really, even though I don't agree with everything in it, I mean, some of the stuff we were reading, I'm like, well, I think that's a very sugar-coated way of putting what's really going on. And I'm curious, I would love to ask this writer, what did you love about Bill Clinton's policies? What did you love about Barack Obama's, policies? I mean, there were some cool things that happened. There were, gay marriage was great. Net neutrality, he did the right thing at the 11th hour. But that was all public opinion and movements that really made that happen. So, anyway, I like what that article says. If you're a centrist, time to either get on board with progressive ideas or you might as well just join the Republicans. Make it a less severe party.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and